guys know that you can actually throw a rock further than a trebuchet? I mean, have you ever tried throwing a trebuchet? All right, better than the last one? That was a little bit better. I thought, I kind of like the nunchuck too. We've got the base done. We've got our sides done. Everything's supported. Everything's looking super strong. Now, it's time to build the arm. Okay, remember back to the beginning of this project. We used that program called Virtual Trebuchet. That program gave us the length of our arm relative to the height that we wanted. That was one of the most important calculations that we got out of that program. We decided that we wanted a 5 foot tall trebuchet, and we went with an arm of 8 feet. And that should give us the distance that we wanted to get. So we're going to design our arm right now. The important thing we need to remember when we're building the arm is we want to keep it strong, but also as light as possible. If we add more weight onto our arm, it's not going to be nearly as effective. So we need to come up with a way we can make a strong and light arm. Let's take a look. First, let's talk about strength. We're going to make the arm of our trebuchet out of wood. I mean, we've got to make it out of wood. This is a woodshop class, right? So if we make it out of wood, we need to think about the dimensions of the wood and the orientation of the grain and how that relates to strength. First of all, we want the grain going the length of the piece of wood because it's much stronger. When we put the piece of wood in the trebuchet, if this is our sample, it could go in, pretend this is it right here. It could go in like this, or it could go in like this. So we could set it up to go this direction, or we can set it up to go this direction. If it's moving this way, which one do you think is the strongest? If we put it in like this, you can see there's a lot of bend and flex in the arm. Now this actually might have kind of a cool effect. I'm not sure what that would do in terms of the throwing action, but there's a much greater chance that it's going to break than if we put it in like this. Here you can see it's much stronger. I can put a great deal of weight on it, and it's not going to break. This direction, if we put all the weight and it goes flying through the air, I think eventually it's going to break. This is a 6 foot 4x4 beam. This thing's really heavy. I can tell you right now when I try to lift it up that if we use something like this, a solid piece of timber for our arm, it's probably going to be way too heavy. We need to design something lighter. So that brings me back to these pieces we were looking at here. I wonder if we can design an arm, maybe out of a couple pieces of wood, that's still strong, but much lighter. My first thought was we could take a couple pieces of plywood maybe, which is a really strong wood, and we could sandwich some blocks in between the plywood, kind of like this. I don't know if you guys can see that, but if we sandwich some blocks in between like that, it would be strong, much stronger than a single piece. The only problem with this is we're still going to get the flex going sideways, and I think that's going to be an issue. If our arm is going through the air like this, that's fine, but if it bends at all while it's going through the air, that's going to be a problem. It could actually be dangerous, and it could snap side to side too. So we need to figure out a way to make this light and rigid. What would you guys do? Here's an idea. We make essentially an I-beam. So we take one piece of plywood, we take another piece of wood, put it in the middle like this, and then we attach a piece of wood on top like that. So look at the orientation of the wood now. Then for blocking, we could add a few blocks in places where we need it, like at the pivot point where the bar goes through the trebuchet, and maybe at the back where the bucket's going to hang, and maybe at a few places in the front. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I've never done this before, but let's try it and see what happens.